On September 20th, Wembley Stadium will arguably host Britain's two most formidable heavyweights, Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, who will collide for the IBF World Championship. This is an all-British clash that has captured the imagination of fight fans, some even comparing it to the likes of Lewis versus Bruno, as an established star in Joshua against a young and hungry champion in Dubois, in a fight that could define the future of the heavyweight division. For Joshua, this bout represents the opportunity to reassert his dominance and continue his journey back to the top, as he aims to take on the winner of Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury. For Dubois, he's no stranger to setbacks as well, and after a run of good performances after his defeat to Usyk, it's a chance to make a statement on the biggest stage, proving that he has learnt from the past mistakes and is among the elite of the division. As these two powerhouses prepare to meet in the ring, let's break down the strengths, weaknesses and tactical approaches they might employ come fight night.
You can't intimidate me.
Don't disrespect
You can't intimidate me.
Don't disrespect
You can't intimidate me.
Daniel, don't
Who do you
disrespect
think you are?
Daniel, don't disrespect me. Don't don't disrespect me on my life.
No, man.
It's okay.
Let's start off with Daniel Dubois. At the age of 26, Dubois has had some career already, and you could say he's in the prime of his physical condition. He possesses a combination of speed, strength that allows him to maintain a high level of intensity throughout the fight, particularly in the early rounds. In terms of his style, Dubois is a front foot fighter who thrives on applying pressure and even making it a messy fight on the inside. But that's not to say he can't box. He does like to dictate the pace of the fight, using his jab to set up his powerful combinations or power shots. And this relentless style at times can simply overwhelm opponents as the rounds go on, forcing them into making mistakes. Joshua will also need to look out for his devastating knockout power as well. With 20 knockouts and 21 of his victories, he can also end this fight with a single punch, as much as he can brawl and overwork you. But what should be Daniel's tactical approach? Personally, what he's been doing recently under Don Charles has seemed to be working, starting the fight fast and aggressively, using his jab to close the distance to set up his power shots. A straightforward approach. Dubois tends to throw the double jab before firing an overhand right or right to the body, usually putting everything behind it. While Joshua in the past has looked uncomfortable to double jabs, looking to cover up and moving back in straight lines. And this does see him get caught out by lead hand feints at times. While Daniel also tends to throw a left hook after throwing this combination. And this will be a punch Anthony Joshua will need to look out for, as one lapse of concentration could lead to taking a huge shot from Dubois.
Jab up, gotta listen to his corner. That's not a bad shot from Dubois, that was better.
Well, usually when Dubois throws these punches, it allows him to get on the inside, where he'll really start to make things messy for his opponent, trying to throw uppercuts and hooks in these positions, while even sneakily using his head at times to continue making it more discouraging for his opponent. And looking at Anthony Joshua's style throughout the years, he isn't someone who generally likes to fight in these positions, much preferring to fight at a longer distance, so he can set up his own power shots. Making this an uncomfortable fight for Joshua might just be the way to go. With Dubois liking to target the body, I really do think this could be dividends for Dubois in terms of setting up his right hand and even the left hook. Joshua does have a tendency to reset after body attacks come to him, taking a step back, or he will parry down his right hand momentarily to try parry away the shot, which can momentarily lead to openings for his opponents. However, we have also seen Joshua start to get tired in the later rounds in some fights, and targeting the body is usually the way to go if you want to slow someone down. And while I think Dubois should continue doing what he's been doing, in terms of him having success in his aggressive approach, he has to be mindful of Joshua's counterpunching ability, especially as he comes into range, and not leave himself open to big shots, and particularly Joshua's right hand himself, and even uppercuts down the middle on the inside. For me, I think we'll need to see him mix up his attacks, using more feints with the lead hand before committing, while the most obvious would be to see more head movement from Dubois in this fight, as you've got to be concerned by how many times he was getting caught in his last fight versus Hrgovic by the right hand. Seeing what Joshua did to Ngannou in his last fight, this is something Team Dubois can't take lightly. We have seen Daniel get behind his jab in the past trying to box, but personally I don't think that's where his strength lies. It's when he's aggressive and trying to take the initiative in the fight. Joshua, ever since his first loss to Ruiz, has adopted a more cautious defensive style in my opinion. While this has helped him avoid further upsets, it can make him more hesitant to engage, especially if he gets clipped by a clean punch. While more recently we've seen the improvements under his new trainer Ben Davidson, and have seen his confidence come back. Who's to say if one punch lands, he goes back to square one. But overall, I'm very intrigued to see what Dubois will do, by continuing to do what he's been doing, by looking to be the aggressor, or if he'll actually try to take his time looking to box AJ in the early rounds before trying to stick it on him. Now, let's take a look at the challenger, Anthony Joshua. And his experience at the highest level of the sport is one of his greatest assets going into this. He's faced and defeated some of the best fighters in the division. And although he fell short against the likes of Usyk, he's still proven the ability to adapt and adjust during a fight to get the job done. And personally, I think Joshua's key weapon for this fight will be his jab. And not just to use it as a rangefinder, but as a way to disrupt Daniel Dubois coming into range, while looking to set up his right hand. And looking at that Hrgovic fight as I mentioned before, this was clearly the punch that could be set up in Daniel Dubois, for a couple of reasons. One, he tends to keep his guard in that slightly lower position that allows the right hand to come over the top, while it's also not helped by the lack of head movement from Dubois or even footwork to get out of range that allows this punch to land so effectively. Not to mention, he does have a tendency to stick out his lead hand as this punch comes in, something very similar to the Francis Ngannou fight, who would look to parry the jab, resulting in that opening for the right hand. While we don't even need to go that far back for Daniel Dubois, look at his fight versus Joe Joyce. He also went against his own approach by getting behind the jab. He was able to land this consistently against him, splitting through that open guard of Dubois as he comes into range. And Joshua's jab for me is one of the best in the division, and for me, if he's not improved his ability to deal with this strong jab, Joshua could have success all night using this. I also think given Dubois' aggressive style and defensive lapses, Joshua should be ready to capitalise on those counterpunch opportunities as he comes into range, especially with his lead right hand and his uppercut.
Look for the left. Got it! Right hand on the floor. Doing it if you feel it. Oh, that's it! And can he get through it? A minute and a half.
And looking at Dubois in those inside positions, I think the uppercut will be the perfect punch to land in Dubois as he opens himself up.
Uppercut from Miller. Miller wants, you see, he wants Daniel to hold his feet. Or Dubois looking really tired of getting there.
I am intrigued to see the pace Joshua comes out in. AJ usually does take the earlier round to try and figure out his opponent's strategy, but as seen in his last two fights, he has been a lot more aggressive in his approach. But due to Daniel's aggressive and reckless style at times, I think it will be important to pace himself and stay disciplined and wait for the right moments to counter him at whatever point in the fight, as I do think he'll be able to exploit Dubois' inexperience and potentially secure a big stoppage if he is disciplined. This clash between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois is more than just a fight. It will also be a pivotal moment in the landscape of British boxing as Riyadh season comes here for the first time. For Joshua, it's a chance to reaffirm his status as one of the top heavyweights in the world and get the rematch of Alexander Usyk or against Tyson Fury to become undisputed. While for Dubois, it is his opportunity to show he is the real deal, that he is the deserving new face of heavyweight boxing in the UK. Both fighters bring significant strengths to the table. It's clear they both carry vulnerabilities, which both could be exploited by the other. And this fight's outcome will likely hinge on who can impose their game plan more effectively. Can Dubois impose his aggressive style, or can Joshua control him with his jab and set him up with a huge power punch? As these two British greats prepare to square off at Wembley, fans are guaranteed a night of high drama and intense action, with the potential new chapter to be written in the storied history of British heavyweight boxing. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Enjoy the fight when it comes. As always guys, I'll see you in the next one.